Hi, welcome to the Marshashana Yoga Show, which we tape here at the Milford TV studio in Milford, Massachusetts. For those of our online viewers, because these episodes do go up on YouTube after a while, we are a town of about 25,000 people. It's a great town. When I was a little girl, it was a small town, and I have seen it grow over the years. Our town government keeps us fiscally balanced. The schools are terrific, and I can tell you from personal experience that this community strongly supports our disabled population, including my son and the director of this show, Mark Mancuso. I also love the diversity of Milford. I have been told how the town was originally mostly Irish, and then came the Italians who, according to Nonnie Mancuso, faced the issues that immigrants do. When I was a teenager, the Portuguese lived in the downtown area, and I worked at Milford Shoe, so I grew to know and love these people. That downtown area is now brought back to life after those years when malls were the center of existence and the main streets became like those of a ghost town by the arrival of the Mexicans, Brazilians, Guatemalans, and others. It gives our town a rich feel, like a fabric woven of many strands. Nowadays, I love to walk into Milford High School with Mark and see kids from just about every country there. It's fantastic. We are all one. As a side note, and a huge celebration for Mark was his high school graduation last week and the party that followed. Congratulations to my awesome, amazing son on his work and accomplishments, which did include 2 athletic awards. In our recent shows, we have been looking at the koshas, those layers that make up a person in yogic thinking. Like the layers of an onion, so today we will just carry on with our discussion of the koshas by moving on to the next kosha, the 4th layer, the Vijnana Maya kosha. Now remember that we talked about the Annamaya kosha, that outside layer that is the material body and usually where we begin the yogic journey. Then there is the Pranamaya kosha, which includes the breath. And this serves as a bridge to that next layer, the Manomaya kosha, the place of the mind stuff. Well, that's all a simplification, so you can check out those other episodes to explore these a little further. So beyond that layer is that next sheath, the Vijnanamaya kosha. This is the sheath of the wisdom body. It is considered by some to be the first layer of the embodiment of light. It is not the actual light, but it is more like a temporary source, borrowing light, but not yet at the self. Sounds all lofty, I know, but let's look at the word Vijnanamaya, which means composed of the intellect. That part that determines and discriminates and wills. This kosha is also related to the sense organs through which we perceive. This layer is bestowed with the purpose of knowledge, but does identify itself with the body. So why can't this sheath be the supreme real self? Because it is subject to change, it is inanimate, it is limited, and it is not always there. See, there is this idea of Prakriti and Purusha, the former referring to nature in all of its aspects and that which is created. It is the primal matter. This is always changing, just as the cells in our body are not those that we were born with. Purusha refers to the self, or pure consciousness, that inner layer. And as you can see, based on that description, the Vijnanamaya kosha is not Purusha. It is limited, It changes, and it is not always present. What it does do is allow us to have greater insight into ourselves and the world around us. And as the first three layers, the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya koshas, become part of our yoga practice, we may experience a shift as we have different feelings within the body. Instead of just trying to barely hold on in a pose, you may now experience the opening of the chest to the sky in a back bend, or the power and strength of tree pose. In this kosha, though, we do still have that subjective witness observing. It's the voice that tells you that this feels right. But when that voice softens into what is happening right at that moment, then you will be reaching that final layer of Anandamaya kosha, or pure bliss. It doesn't actually matter that you reach some lofty point, but rather that you are able to access the sheath. Many do this. Children do it all the time. Musicians and other artists do it. And yoga students do it too, even beginners. We may not be in this bliss body every day, but it's good to know it is there. Yoga is used as a tool to help us peel back these layers. We become more and more aware, mindful. Remember that I often mention how we are cultivating an awareness in yoga, a mindfulness, a paying attention. Well, as we become more aware, we eventually reach through to that inner core, that true self. Next time, we will discuss that final layer as we continue on our journey through the koshas. And do remember, as we do the postures, to be mindful of your own body and to modify it to suit your own body, any of the practices we're doing. Sometimes there's this idea by Iyengar that I was just reading about where we want to be operating from the center of our core, both in a vertical extension and a horizontal expansion. But sometimes if we're in the pose and we're reaching beyond what we're doing, then we are going to be, if we're overstretching, Iyengar sees it as an ego thing. If we're understretching, a lack of confidence. Just interesting to think about. So on that note, let's continue to cultivate our awareness as we move to the mat. So we begin here today by drawing the attention to the breath. We notice the breath, this automatic function that we do without thinking. In yoga, we bring some attention, some mindfulness to the breath, noticing the rise and the fall of the breath. As we rest here, we allow our concerns and worries to just move to the side. As thoughts come to mind, just allow them to pass by and return to the breath without judgment. We know that when we use the breath, wherever we direct the breath, consciousness follows. So it is the vehicle for the consciousness. So we attend to it. We just give it some attention. As you rest here, allow your feet to splay. Move the shoulders away from the ears and allow the palms to be upwards. Relax the muscles of the face. And for a moment, just notice the quality of your breath. We know that when we're uptight or nervous, our breath becomes ragged. Sometimes we just outright hold the breath. So we just notice that rise and fall. And then we'll just increase the breath, making it bigger. So let's try that 3-part breath where we breathe into the belly, up into the rib cage, and all the way to the top. And then just holding a few seconds and releasing the chest, ribs, belly. Let's try that again. Filling the belly like a cup. Expanding the ribs sideways. Lifting the chest. Nice fluid breath. Just holding Kumbhaka, that little hold at the top, and then releasing the chest, the ribs, and belly. And then returning to the natural flow of the breath. And now we'll just extend the body long, bringing the arms behind you. And today we're starting in Shavasana. Sometimes we start in Supta Baddha Konasana, where we have the bolster and the blocks. But today I'm just starting in Shavasana. Some of you don't have that equipment. And then exhaling down. And just point and flex the feet for a minute. Just pointing and flexing, warming those up. Bring the heels outside the toes together. And then just windshield wiper them back and forth. Old-fashioned windshield wipers. And then coming back to center. Extend the arms and legs again. And then bring the arms up in the air. And just open and close the fist a little. We make a loose fist and then spread those fingers wide and then making a loose fist, spreading them wide. And then bring the index finger and thumb and just make some circles with the hands, warming up the wrist and lubricating the wrist and going the other way. And as we do this, we have the toes upwards but not rigid. And then once again, extend the arms and legs, lengthen through the sides of the waist, really stretching the body. And exhaling the arms down. And then just remove your pillow or your pillow and bolster and just come down to a flat back. Bring the feet up to the floor. Make them the width of the mat apart. And just do a slight pelvic tilt. So we press down with the small of the back as we lift the pelvis towards the face. And then as we press down there, we press down with the feet. And we just let the legs go to the right. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, left. Inhale. Exhale, right. Inhale. So opening the hips, exhale. And also doing a little breath work. Inhale. Exhale. And back up to center. Bring the feet back to hip distance apart. And again, we make that little pelvic tilt by just pressing into the ground and releasing. So we warm up that back a little bit. Especially important if you have any lower back issues. And then releasing. And now just let the left leg go long and draw the right knee into the chest. Just take a breath here. And then let that right knee come forward. And as you draw it towards the center of the chest, and I will say if you have any surgery, stomach issues here, you don't want to draw it into the center there. So just, again, watching your own body. We draw that to the center. We also lift the head. Now your neck and shoulders have to be healthy too here. That left foot stays up to the ceiling. We bring the nose to the knee. We breathe. And then just releasing the head back down. Extend that right leg upwards. Make the arms long and the leg long. Point and flex the foot. A couple times. Make a circle with the foot. Again, the other way. And then draw the thigh to the chest and push that back up. Spread your toes. And wiggle the toes. And then let that sole of that right foot come right down towards the floor. Take your right hand to the right knee. Left hand can be beside you. Just make some circles with that knee so that we're just making a rotation in the hip socket. And go the other way, loosening up that hip area. And then extend that leg long. Once again, reach your arms behind you. Push your heels away. Exhale in time with your breath. Bring the arms down. Leave the right leg long. Draw the left knee into the chest. And then allow that knee to come forward. And as you draw it toward the mid-body, lift the nose to the knee. Take a few breaths. And then release back down. Extend that left leg long. The arm is long, the leg is long. Right foot is pointed upwards, but not rigid. Point and flex your left foot. And then push the sole upwards, spread the toe, wiggle the toes. And then draw that thigh to the chest and push it back up, just lengthening that. And then lower that towards the floor. Take the left hand to the top. Right hand can just rest on the floor, and then make some rotations. So when we wiggle the toes, reflexology experts, and the other way, say that clears the energy channel and allows for some nice relaxation and calm too. Good to do like for 60 seconds if you can't sleep. And then coming down, stretch the body. Exhaling down. And then we'll just roll over and we'll come up to a simple seated position. We're going to take a moment here and just bring the hands up and close the eyes. Let's do 1 Om. Inhaling now. Om. Bring the hands down on your legs and begin spinal rotation. We inhale forward. Exhale, pull the belly back. Inhale. Exhale, close the eyes, go within. Inhale. Exhale. Just really working that belly area too. Burning up some toxins. And then coming to the center. Bring your hands now to the bottom of your shins. And as you inhale and spinal flex, bring the chest through. Exhale back, lengthen the arms, tuck the tummy back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. So if you're taut in the upper back and tight up there, this is good. Inhale. Again, closing the eyes, just going inside for a moment. So we keep the head steady, we don't bob the head. And then coming back. Bring the hands to the knees, take your right hand to your left knee as you just move into that twist, allowing the torso to move to the side. And then coming to the front, we bring the left hand to the right knee as we just move. And then coming back to center. And I'd like you to just bring the legs apart and extend them as far as you can. That varies from person to person. And then lifting forward and just lifting the chest. Taking a breath and just making some space in the chest. Push the thighs down. Push the thighs into the floor and the calves downwards. And then releasing and coming up. Bring the legs together and just reach forward. Lift the chest. And then walking back up. Now take one leg and just bring both hands to the foot. Keep the other one up and straight. Try to bring it into the nose, just to whatever you can do. Keep the spine straight. Take a breath. Nice stretch for that hip over there. Hips can be tight for a lot of people. Also a place where we hold our emotions and then releasing that. Bring the other one in. Let the knee come out to the side and just take the foot and bring it as close to the nose as you are able. Breathing. We often forget to breathe in the pose. Come back down. Again, widen the legs. Again, move. Sometimes I just move the buttocks flush back too because this is a position that's hard for me. So I always try to gain a little more. Sometimes I inch my way up. And then bring the hands behind the head and just lean to one side. Come back up, lean to the other. You're going to feel a lot in the legs on this one. And then coming up, bring that down. Bring the soles of the feet together. And then just bring them in as close as you can to the body and butterfly them. Let them go up and down a little bit. Just as you let that, again, that hip opening. And then coming back to that. So let's come up now and let's take the blanket off. And we'll come to table position. And you know in table that the shoulders are right over the wrist if you've been watching, and the hips right over the knees. Your hands, make sure those index fingers are never inward. You can see what it's doing to the shoulder. No good. It's got to be at least parallel and maybe outwards. Shoulders right over the wrist. Hips right over the knees. Flatten your feet. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, round and tuck. Inhale up. Exhale, round. Inhale. Exhale. Move the hands forward at the shoulders. Tuck the toes as wide as the hands are and come up into downward facing dog. Now for a moment, bend your knees. Bend your knees like this. And then lift the tailbone and the back of the thighs up towards the ceiling and straighten the legs. Lower the heels to whatever your ability is. Allow the head to hang. Take a breath. And then coming into plank pose where we bring the shoulders right over the wrist. And we allow the belly to be up, but the buttocks down. And then move to side plank. Now, for those of you who need a modification, drop the back leg. And if you can come right, you roll to the sides of your feet. Arms stacked one over the other. Remember that vertical extension, although it would be this way, and that horizontal expansion. Come back down into that pose of plank, roll to the other side. Just holding that for a minute. Make sure the arm stays here and doesn't go back behind the shoulder. Come back over, come back up into down dog. Take a breath. Come into plank once more, lower the knees. Come to child's pose. Bring your toes together and your knees apart and just rest your head. And then we'll just come up. And let's come up to standing. We'll come to the front of our mat. We'll talk for a minute about the forward bend, so the forward fold. So let's inhale up in Urdhva Hastasana as we reach up. And then as we fold into Uttanasana, we fold at the top of the thigh, coming down and just placing the hands where you can. Now, if you have tight hamstrings, you need to bend your knees a little, and here's why. Because if your hamstrings are too tight, it's going to take the natural curve out of your back, and that's going to cause problems in the lower back. You don't want that. You're better off bending the knees if you must. And also for men, they have more muscle mass, so they're going to have those tighter hamstrings. So bend the knees a little if you have to, no problem. And looking back between the legs. And then coming up, just draw the hands up to the lower back and just move into a little baby back bend. Now, as we move back and forth, we massage the heart, but the forward bends are really good for us, stimulating the heart and the organs. And also for men who often develop prostate problems, this is very good to prevent that kind of stuff, coming back down into the forward fold. Bend the knees a little, come up. Inhale, exhale to prayer. Now we're going to take the right foot and we're going to place it across the left, right on the floor. And then we're going to take a hold of the left wrist with the right hand and we're going to move to the right. And just stretching that side. In yoga, we always try to get a lot of flexibility and stretching going on. And then just bend forward for a moment. just halfway. Just bringing the hands out from you. And then come back up, release down. Bring that foot back and come back to the center. Inhale, come up on your toes. Strengthening the feet and ankles. Exhaling down. Now let's take the left leg and bring it across the right and take a hold of the right wrist with the left hand and move to the left. Again, just stretching the body in different ways. And then coming up and just moving forward with the hands pointed ahead. Come up, release back. Inhale, lift the toes, spread them. Exhale down. Now let's try it similar. Let's take the right foot and cross it over the left, and then take the left arm and cross it over the right. So we're coming into that kind of eagle position. And then just move a little to your left, just a few inches, not too much. I don't want to do any pulling or anything. And then coming up and a little to the other side. And then coming back up and taking your time, move forward. So there is balance involved here, and I like to take this move slowly so you don't throw yourself off. Take a breath, and then come back up. And then releasing. And then taking the left foot over the right and taking a hold of the right wrist with the left hand and moving to the right, to the left, sorry, to the left. So when I'm doing my poses, I'm mirroring, so sometimes what I'm calling the left is the right for you, and it gets a little confusing sometimes. And then coming over to the other side. And bringing your arms down. And bringing your arms to this position, cross the right over the left, and then move to one side, and then coming up to the other, and up, and then moving forward. And then coming up and releasing. Okay, let's try stepping wide. Turn your right foot out all the way and the left one in a little bit. Extend the arms as we think about that being centered. So we think about being centered right at the core. And so as we extend out, we have that expansion, we have the vertical extension. And then we just gaze out over that right arm as we bend the forward knee. So just taking a breath here. We want to make sure that back leg stays fully engaged. This front thigh is parallel to the floor. Bring the front arm down and extend over in Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. Taking a breath. Come back up, straighten the front leg, reach forward and come into Trikonasana. Triangle. Stacking one. So the thing you have to do is, you see, I don't go down to the floor because when I go down, I lose the chest. So you got to come to where the chest is going to be up there. And come back to center. Come to the middle, either walking or jumping. Inhale, round the shoulders. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale back. Again. Exhaling back. Try just alternating the shoulders, just moving them, and then the other way. And then inhale up to the, right up to the ears. Exhale, ha, ha. And then step wide again. Now we make sure we step wide, we keep the feet even and parallel, and then we turn one out and the back one in. The torso moves towards the front, not jerked, but gradually we move to that place where we're facing forward. And then we bend that forward knee. And we gaze out over. We want to make sure the torso stays perpendicular to the floor. A lot of times you want to go like this. And that's that overstretching we talked about, the ego thing. We want to stay here. We want to make sure that your knee goes towards the little toe, not the big toe side, and that the back arm stays up and level. Bring the arm down, extend over, Parsvakonasana. Head is looking forward, take a breath. Come back up. Straighten the front leg, reach forward and come into Trikonasana. and then just coming up. Hands to hips, and forward, and together, I mean. Inhale, exhale. Now we'll come to the front of the mat here for a moment. We're going to do a little bit of a flow, something a little different. So we're going to inhale our arms up. We're going to exhale, fold into Uttanasana. The hands come beside you. Bend the legs if you have to. Step back with the left foot. Step back with the right foot. Come into plank pose. Now hold your elbows in by your sides. You can modify by dropping the knees. Otherwise, hold them in by your side. Come down to Chaturanga Dandasana. So we're that plank pose. If you can, stay here a second. Come down. Flip the feet to the tops. Bring the hands, palms down by your side, and lift into Cobra. Or up dog. And then flip the feet and come back into down dog. Bring the left foot forward as your gaze comes forward. Bring that left foot forward. And now we're going to just jump that back foot forward a little so that we come up into Warrior Two. So again, we want to make sure that we don't overextend on the knee. And then straighten that front knee, bring the hands to the hips, and step back up to the front of the mat. Inhale, exhale. So we'll do the other side, because whenever we do something on one side in yoga, we always do the other side. Inhale, fold. Step back with the right foot, step back with the left foot, come into plank. Lower yourself down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Come all the way down. Keep the elbows by the side, push up, peel the chest up, and then flip your feet and come into down dog. Bring the gaze forward and the right foot. Jump that back foot up a little, come right up into Warrior Two. And then just straightening that leg and again stepping to the front. So let's come here for a moment. Let's try Uttanasana, or chair pose. That builds endurance. It's a dynamic pose. As we settle down, we reach up. So let's bring the arms vertical to the ears and bend the knees. So just coming to wherever you can. You can modify by staying here. So you just come to where it's possible. Eventually you want your thighs vertical to the floor. I just have to check my feet to make sure they're straight. Bring the hands to prayer. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Inhale. Exhale to center. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Inhale. Bring the hands and interlace them on your lower back. And then straighten the legs and come into a forward fold. And then lift your arms up behind you, if your shoulders will allow it. And then coming down. Okay, I want to do a little bit of work on the feet today. So we're going to bring a chair over. So if you have a chair, and if you got a tennis ball, that's good too. So first, let's just come to rest on the chair, set the ball down. Bring the feet even in parallel. And then bring your right hand to your left knee. And as you twist, bring it to the top of the chair. So it gives you that little extra action in making that twist. Make sure that the feet stay where they're supposed to be, under the knees. There's a lot to keep an eye on sometimes, always in the poses. Are you noticing how your skin feels? Come back to center. Take left hand to right knee, twist. Other arm is behind you on the chair. So I was reading last night how Iyengar talks about making a little bit of space between the tissue and the bones and everything and the skin. It's different thinking. He compared it to an otter whose, I guess, skin attaches at the hands and feet in certain points, but within it, there's movement. So he wants to create this consciousness where we're noticing that there's a difference between the skin and the other layers. Okay, so just interesting. Okay, so here, let's take one leg over the other like this, and just bring the hands here. So we're just opening up that hip for a minute. Resting a little bit too. And you should feel a stretch in your hip there. And then coming back and bring the other one over. And bring the hands to this. Somebody nicknamed this teenager pose. I kind of like that. Or the thinker when you're not really supposed to be thinking in yoga. And then coming back. So let's take that ball and let's put it down there and roll it over the feet. Now, I really like doing this. It makes it feel really good. And look it, the feet are the foundation. They're like, if the feet have to be right in order to support the structures above it. So we go back and forth over the foot. Just massaging. Foot massage is always good. But also the Chinese have a saying that aging begins in the feet. Because look, if you're having problems with your feet, it's very possible that you're going to eventually have problems in your knees, your hips, can go all the way up. Excuse me. So we need to really take care of the feet. So take your heel and push down on the heel. Get a little pressure going there. And then bring it to the arch and see if you can press down a little there, or maybe a little rotation on the arch. Now some people have fallen arches too, and as I do. And that's caused because the tibialis posterior, which is this muscle that runs right from the arch there, up halfway up the shin, that can get tight or taut and can cause problems. Can actually cause pigeon toe, but can also cause the opposite because it also can pull down on the hips and knees. So I do exercises to try to get my feet to be more, to lift the arches. Okay, and then bring it right to the toes and just separate the toes around the ball. Because in yoga, we try to widen the feet all the time. We're trying to make that firm foundation. And then just bring it over to the other foot and just massage that back and forth. The other thing I always mention on my show, get out there in your bare foot and walk around in your yard over the grass and over the trees. We have many muscles that are underutilized. Most of the problems we have with our feet are caused by shoes. Press down on the heel, especially women who are squeezing into the too tight and the too high. And then into the arch, which I did for years. Now, just massaging that, maybe a little bit round. For some people, it's a little painful in the arch, so it kind of depends on how you feel. And then spreading the toes over it. Yeah, opening up those feet. Sometimes I wear the little toe spreaders around the house. Okay, and then just moving that over to the side. Now take one of your feet up here, and we're going to do a little bit of reflexology, a little bit of toe points here. So we're going to take the big toe, and we're going to just go around the outside edges. We're going to push into them, creating some pressure, and also on the bottom of the pad of the big toe. This can release stress. And then let's try the other foot. So bringing that up and just putting some pressure points right around the outside of that big toe. And on the pad on the bottom. Great, and then just relaxing. Now just bring your toes up and just do the high heel thing and just stretch the toes and then just lift the toes and wiggle them. And now let's come up for a moment and just turn the chair this way. And let's just do a little down dog on the chair. So let's come to this position, bring the hands right here at the corners of the chair and step back. And let's come into that down dog position. Now the chair is nice. It allows me to lower my heels to the floor, which I cannot do normally right now. I'm just not at that place. Taking a breath. And then come into plank pose. So bring the shoulders right over the wrists. Lift the belly and descend the buttocks. And back to downward dog. And then looking forward, bring your left foot forward and the back one right in Anjaneyasana and runner's lunge here. And again, I like it here at the chair because I can reach that back heel down and get a real good calf stretch. You know, in Svadhyaya, remember we talked about one of the niyamas, we self-study. We look at what we're doing. I notice when something is off, so you begin to attend to this. It's part of that mindfulness thinking. Step forward, step back. Stretching that back calf, nice. and then step forward and just come into a forward fold. If you can bring the crown of your head down, good. If not, just to wherever you can. And then coming up. Okay, let's move the chair aside. Let's come now to our blanket and put that back down, and just have your pillow or your bolster nearby, or your pillow and your bolster, or just a pillow, as we just come to a sitting position on the blanket. So today we're going to focus on the root chakra. It's called the Muladhara. And the Muladhara is right at the base of the spine. It's like the starting point, the beginning point of our energy. It's thought that this energy, this kundalini kind of energy, is coiled like a serpent at the base of the spine. And by doing our yoga, our breath work, and our energy work, opening up our chakras, this energy is allowed to rise up. It's also the point of our security. It's a place of our security and our courage. The root chakra is where we hold ancestral memories. In other words, in the yogic world, we believe that if your ancestors experienced famine or some terrible occurrence, that you may hold some of that. So it's believed that everyone has blockages there because they may bring that from the past. Just interesting stuff. Bring the hands up. So now we will focus on that root chakra right at the base of the spine and in the genital area. And we are just going to picture there a 4-petal red lotus flower. And the seed sound for that chakra, to open that, is lun. So we're going to do lun twice, inhaling now to begin. Bring the index and first finger and thumb together, extending the others, and let's do Om, inhaling now. And now we'll move to Shavasana, bringing the pillow beneath the head. If you have a bolster, you can bring that beneath your legs. We bring the attention back to the breath as we notice the rise and fall of the breath. We allow our concerns to stay away for a few minutes. We relax the front top of the body, noticing as the feet relax and the shins. Softening the top of the thighs, the belly. Relaxing the shoulders, opening the chest. Just relaxing your face, softening the corners of the mouth, relaxing the tongue and the throat. We notice the breath. We honor the breath. We honor the breath. It changes the way the neurons in the brain fire, so we attend to that. Rest your mind. Now we'll just gently roll to your side and just rest there a moment. And we rest here with a feeling of peacefulness and serenity. And then keeping that sense of peacefulness, bring yourself up to a simple seated position, Sukhanasana. Bring the hands to prayer position. And bow the busy intellectual mind to the more intuitive wisdom of the heart. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way home. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.